Alright, hello, my data-driven friend. Um, this is a very important idea that if you want to be moving towards your goal, if you actually want to close that gap, rather than just do a bunch of stuff and then be frustrated, you really need to. I would advise that you think about the following idea. Okay. And the reason I started with Data Driven Friend is because a lot of people consider themselves to be data driven and all about the numbers. But I think a lot of people don't really understand what that means, and then more importantly, how to use it to actually benefit them. Like, who cares if you're data driven or if you consider yourself data driven, if it doesn't actually, the what you're doing and how you're doing it actually isn't benefiting you. Does that make sense? I might say, oh, I'm all about the numbers and I'm data driven, but then my analysis and decision making of or my decision making based on how I'm doing it is actually not benefiting me, then what am I really doing? my my assumption is that I'm being data driven and looking at numbers so that it will actually help me and close the gap of where I want to be and where I am right now. And then if I'm using numbers to make me feel crappy, then what's the point, right? So here's this thing. We're gonna use the example of weight loss, okay? And if I'm trying to lose fat, it's a very simple uh, uh, equation and very few variables that you really need to keep track of. Two variables to be exact. One is the quantity of food coming in. All that means is how many calories are you eating and are you tracking it accurately? That means if you write down in MyFitnessPal or whatever calorie tracker you're using that you ate 2,000 calories, or 2,151 calories, that means that was the actual amount of calories that went into your body versus you wrote down 2,153, but you actually in real life ended up eating 2,921. Whether, and that can happen for a number of reasons, right? Maybe your tracking methods weren't correct or accurate, I mean. Maybe you forgot to track a few things. It can be any number of things. Maybe you deliberately didn't enter the snacks, the little bites and nibbles that you had, right? So those are things that could change, that you would take into consideration to make sure that that variable is correct. And then the second variable you would track is your output, right? Your weight. All right. Now, there's a few ideas that I wanted to talk about in regards to this, okay? Because one thing I see frequently, and I get the benefit of working with people who actually want to do or accomplish this goal and feel good about it. Um, I hear a lot in the fitness industry about, oh, clients do this, they're not doing this, and blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of people complain about their clients and how they don't get it. So I've been fortunate in my career to always have worked with clients who love the process and want to do it in a way that makes them feel good while getting really amazing results, right? And so when 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 you have a person who's tracking their weight and their calories And then 2 days goes by and they're like, my weight hasn't moved. And so then they're like, okay, so that doesn't mean anything. If you're really data driven, you know that 2 days of information means nothing. It's irrelevant. It's not enough pieces of information to say anything. But usually people take that as a opportunity. Well, they don't consider it an opportunity, but they in that situation, they go, oh my god, I haven't lost any weight. What should I do? I'm going to change this. And they look to change things or add variables. Should I work out more? Should I decrease my food more? Should I abandon the plan completely? Should I go and change the plan and go do keto? Should I add in fasted cardio? And so, they're looking at two pieces of information or two data points. That's not being data driven. No scientist, reputable scientist, would make a decision based off of two pieces of information, right? If you had 1,000 people and two people did something that was mean, you wouldn't then say this entire like it's all gone shit, right? But if you made that judgment of, man, these two people did this, and you ignored the 998 people who are doing wonderful things, you're not being data driven. You're making emotional, irrational decisions based on data. Incomplete data and not enough data. And looking at data in a way that supports your negative thinking, right? In a way that supports you feeling bad about yourself and allowing you to continue behavior that moves you away from what you want. This is very important to go back and listen to those last few sentences. Really think about that, right? Because I can make the numbers look like anything I want and tell any story I want. And it will feed a certain story that I already have that makes me feel either pleasant or unpleasant feelings. And the way that physics works is whatever has momentum will continue to, it'll be hard to stop that momentum. These are laws of physics, and this includes your emotional state or weight. If it's going in one direction, you have to slow down. Slow down, right? If you go back and you listen to the system reliabilities episodes where I talk about how adding components decreases system reliability and getting the outcome we want, you would not want to add more components, right? Our goal is to eliminate as many components in the system as possible and then focus on the most unreliable component, which is always human behavior, okay? And increasing that, and automatically, like effortlessly, your output you'll close that gap with less effort than ever before, right? So that's the kind of the first piece is like, if I look at just 2 days of information and I'm like, oh my god, my weight hasn't changed, blah blah blah, then I'm gonna have problems. I'm gonna be trying to add or change, and we already know what happens with system reliability when you add components, right? The success of the system is a product, means multiplication of all of the the reliability of each different part, right? So like, uh, if each component is 50% reliable, and you have two components, Now your system reliability is 25%, right? So we want to, and if you have 100 pieces and they're all not very reliable because it's hard to manage 100 pieces, you can do the math. You're pretty much guaranteed to fail. But if you eliminate and you realize most of those pieces actually don't even matter, and I can eliminate all of those and then focus on the two and just drive up their percentages, the main one being human behavior, all of a sudden, without with way less effort than before, I get I get unbelievable results. Um, so very, very important to think about that. And like, don't go changing things. You need to look at what's happening on a week to week basis. And then you can't even use that. You need to look at what's happening at the month basis and then the 6 month basis, right? If I take a little snapshot and say, in these 5 days my weight hasn't changed, or in these 4 days my weight went up, and you're just looking at the start and the end of that window, you're not getting a complete picture, because in the last 5 days your weight could have gone up, but in the last 100 days your weight may be down 35 pounds. So those last 5 days, obviously whatever you've been doing has been working, and if you try to change that, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to change something that actually works because you're favoring short-term information that's incomplete and not representative of the trend in the long run. So anyways, I thought this was very important. It is very important, and this applies to everything in life. We take these snapshots and we don't get a complete picture, and then we make decisions that perpetuate our lack of results. So if any of that resonated, if it was helpful, follow me on Instagram, add me, tag me, if you had any insights, at ranbir.sanghera, and I'll see you guys, or I will see you very soon.